I think my fuel now and my currency now is curiosity.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people kind of lose that.
Welcome to On Brand with Donny Deutsch. I am Donny Deutsch, and this is the podcast dedicated to a premise that everything today is a brand. Every person, every celebrity, every product, every corporation, every movement, every political party, they're all brands. Brand is a set of value, and we do two things here. First, we do an interview with a big name about their own personal brand. And today we have comedian Howie Mandel, ubiquitous Howie Mandel. He's a big talent. He's got a lot to talk about, and we're going to have some fun with him today. And we do also do what we call our brands of the week. And these are the brands that are kind of dictating the zeitgeist, who's going up, who's going down, who's going sideways. So let's go right to it. First of all, certainly a brand down for Donald J. Trump. They released the warrants last week showing that possible infractions of the Espionage Act. And, I brought this up on air, and everybody keeps, was wondering, what's in the documents? What's in the documents? And I keep coming back to the big question is why? Why is this guy holding on to top secret documents? And there's only one reason, to somehow for personal gain. Somehow, whether it's to sell secrets or blackmail the United States, like there's no other reason. Or just for souvenirs. And we all know that this guy there's no depth he will not, stoop to for his own personal gain. So let your mind use your imagination. It's also a good time to bring up, this is at the moment. Here are the investigations going on against Donald J. Trump. There's a federal criminal investigation into the White House records removal. There's the Georgia criminal investigation for Trump's interfering in the state's presidential election. There's a federal criminal investigation into January 6th. There's a federal criminal investigation of the efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. New York Attorney General's office civil investigation of the Trump Organization's business practices. The Manhattan DA's criminal case against the Trump Organization, and a rape defamation lawsuit by the writer Eugene Carroll. There you go. That's just a little docket, little up to speed on the criminal investigations into one Donald J. Trump. Got to give a brand up for Biden. He's got a little bit of winning streak. Obviously, his Inflation Reduction Acts, which is with a lot of money going to helping the climate, health, and tax bills expected to be signed by Biden. This follows the American Rescue Plan, the Infrastructure Jobs Acts, the confirmation of Ketanji Brown, the first black female in the Supreme Court, the gun safety legislation, CHIPS, veterans health care expansion. So, a lot of it, and it's starting to pay off a little bit. President Biden's approval rate rose above this week to 40%. As a matter of fact, Rasmussen had his tracking poll shows that 45% approve of him. That's his biggest numbers yet. So I still think so much of Biden's problem is his personal delivery versus the job he's doing, because there's a lot of measures that he's actually getting things done. He just does not instill, and I've talked a lot about on this podcast, the confidence and that he seems to be strengthened. He just comes off as old and not in charge, and that's just a lot more about the delivery system than what he's actually delivering. Brand up for John Fetterman. He is running for Senate, of course, in Pennsylvania. He's come back on the trail after he suffered a stroke. And I just think this guy could be one of the guys that pops as kind of one of the new faces of the Democratic Party. If he beats Mehmet Oz, and I think he will, I think that the party's going to be looking for new faces. And I think he could be one of those faces. He's 6'8". He wears a hoodie sweatshirt. He's got the goatee. He's kind of a working man's Democrat, but not too progressive, could appeal, to those suburban voters. I just think he's an interesting character to really watch. There's something about him that stands out physically. And every time he's been on TV, I kind of lean in. And let's keep close eye on John Fetterman, all right? Brand down for New York's LaGuardia Airport. Worst summer flight cancellations. Travelers using the freshly renovated airport in Queens saw 7.7% of their flights canceled between May 27th and July 15th, nearly triple the rate of the national average. That's 7.7 flights, not late, canceled. LaGuardia Airport, never a bright spot, even when it's renovation. Consumer sentiment, inflation, brand, sideways. Still not great, but improving. Basically, the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index rebounded to 55.1 from 51 in July. It's comfortably above the June's all-time low of 50. The index was 70 a year ago. Inflation has finally leveled off in the last month. So we'll see. People are feeling, and I think is better than where they were a month ago. Brand down for Argentina. If you think we've got problems here, inflation. Interest rates were hiked to 69.5% as inflation hits a 20-year high. Central bank raises benchmark interest rates by 950 basis points on Thursday. Inflation that rose to a 20-year high of 71%. So everything's relative. There's always Argentina when you think about our inflation here. It certainly doesn't make things better at the gas pump, even though things are down on to $4 now. Brand up for teachers. New lures for teachers. School districts nationwide are turning out to extraordinary measures in a desperate effort to get enough teachers in classrooms before the academic year kicks off. There's a shortage driven by burnout and ever-increasing demands. Financial motives incentives are kicking. Des Moines Public Schools are offering 50,000 incentives to teachers, nurses, and administrators who are nearing retirement to stay with the district. Dallas Independent School District set aside $51 million for salary increases and $52 million for retention bonuses. You can't get teachers, and it's one of the most important jobs, and school districts and school systems are having to pay extra as well they should. Same thing with pharmacists. Pharmacists demand. Walgreens is paying signing bonuses of up to $75,000 for pharmacists. That's right. The amount of the pharmacy chain is offering in the signing bonuses to recruit pharmacists varies, but it can go as high as $75,000. You got to stay for a period of time, but there's a shortage of pharmacists, so let them rake it in while they can. Here's a good one: a great brand up for Hooters girls. Now, this is not going to be a salacious segment. It's quite the opposite. Hooters houses professional assets as waitresses go from the restaurant to the boardroom. It's based on a company sent a survey called The Search for I Am a Hooters Girl Success Stories, past and present, to many of the 400,000 waitresses and bartenders who have squeezed themselves into their little outfits. I don't mean that derogatorily, but into the small outfits. They want to show that the success stories that these Hooters girls have gone on to, such as Alicia Andrews, current Virginia Deputy Secretary of Cybersecurity, was a Hooters girl. Taddy Burke, who traded in her uniform to find success as a major real estate executive in Fasken Oil and Ranch in San Antonio, Texas. So there's a lot of these girls that they're trying to find these success stories of Hooters girls that were just trying to make some money and were waiting tables in the Hooters outfits and have gone on to be really, really successful in the marketplace. And I love it. Brand up for professional headshots. The perfect professional headshot is worth $1,000. They're saying that a lot of people are, instead of just using selfies, are getting professional headshots, and it's worth it. LinkedIn says more traffic when profiles are more engaged, and reports that bios with headshots get 21 times more views than those without. And users receive 9 times more connection requests when they include pictures of themselves. So I do think somebody should have a good headshot, whether it's taken by a friend, whether you spend a few dollars on it, but something that gives you a look, because I think just people like to see what people look like. And it just ups the engagement dramatically. So make sure you have that. Brand down for teens and the internet. This is scary. The number of U.S., no surprise though, the number of U.S. teens who say they're online almost constantly has nearly doubled in the last 7 years. Nearly half of all teens say they are internet almost constantly, according to a new Pew Research poll. And that's nearly twice the percentage that said in 2014, or 24%. So in the last 7 years, twice as many people are saying they're on the internet all the time, and particularly with teens. And that's not a great thing. Not a surprise, though. Brand up for Disney. Surpassed Netflix in global paid streaming subscribers. Disney announced last week that it had 14.4 million Disney Plus subscribers. It has 220 million total subscriptions across all the subscription streaming offerings globally, officially surpassing Netflix at 220.7 million. And they're growing. And they've got a lot on their side. They've got sports. They've got obviously all the Disney properties. But Disney keeps ramping up, and you got to give it to them. Brand up, this is probably the 4th time I've done this show. The Top Gun Maverick, just past Titanic as the all-time domestic box office. These are the 10 highest grossing movies ever domestically. Star Wars is 1 with 936 million. Avengers Endgame is 2. Spider-Man No Way Home with 800 million is 3. Avatar is 4. Black Panther is 5. Avengers 6. And there's Top Gun. It passed Titanic, Jurassic World, and Avengers. And there you go, Top Gun Maverick. And it's the only one that's not in the what I'll call the sci-fi or superhero genre. It's the only one in there that's like a movie with real people in it. And there you go. So you got to love that. Got to give him credit for that. Brand up for Bill Russell. Obviously passed on one of the all-time sports greats. And his number 6 is going to be retired across all NBA teams. So nobody will be wearing number 6 in the NBA from here on going forward. And this year, for the upcoming season, players are going to wear number 6 black patches on their uniforms. And Bill Russell was a hero on the court, a hero off the court, fought for rights for African Americans early on when most athletes were not coming forward. Obviously won, I think it was 12 championships. So Bill Russell, just a great on and off the court. Brand up, this is smart marketing for Nike. They're doing maternity trading. Nike is launching a maternity training program, according to Footwear News. It wants to make it easier for pregnant women and postpartum people to get back into sport. It's getting a global maternity training program. The new Nike Training Club app program, according to the company, is aimed at offering guidance and support amid high rates of dropout from exercise due to pregnancy. The program features a prenatal and postpartum exercise plan with a 24-hour workouts that include strength, cardio, mobility, and yoga movements. Look, they're very smart. They saw a lot of women were leaving the exercise universe after giving birth, and obviously it's a challenge getting back in shape and working out again after you've given birth. Not that I would know that, but common sense tells you that. And Nike is doing everything they can. Look, these are the way you make connections with the consumers. Not just selling products, but by really saying to consumers, we understand your life, we understand your needs, we understand the issues, and we build our products and our services around that. Brand up for golf carts. Golf carts are street bound. More and more, the future of golf carts is looking increasingly less resigned for the golf course. Numerous U.S. cities now allow golf carts on actual roads, generally with speed limits of 35 miles or less, as long as they have the requisite equipment like lights, blinkers, seat belts, and a horn. This is great for the environment, obviously electric golf carts, and you're going to see more and more driving down the street. I love it. Why not? I'd rather see a golf cart going down the street in Manhattan than cars. I think it's a great idea. Brand up for bachelor and bachelorette parties. I've been seeing this with all my friends' kids who are of age that are usually going to bachelorette party. The expenditures on these things is getting crazier and crazy. There's an escalating race to see who can make more elaborate blowouts. LendingTree, which surveyed 2,100 consumers, found similar results that 56% of bridal party members felt pressure to spend more than they could afford, and 50% incurred debt as a result. The SavingsCom survey conducted in June among 500 people who attended at least one such party in the previous 18 months pegged the median price of attending at $1,500 to go to a bachelor party. So, of course, the average person today, $1,500 to attend, because most of them are destination now. When I was growing up, bachelor party would be a dinner, at a steakhouse in the city, or a bachelorette party would be whatever it would be. It's a lot different now. So there you go, bachelorette parties. If you're going to one, wish I was going to one, it's going to cost you money. I don't get invited to bachelor parties, nor do I belong to bachelor parties anymore. Brand out from the McPlant. McDonald's is discontinuing the fake meat burger, the McPlant. It means that fast food corporation's first ever meatless burger will be no more existent. It's the Beyond Meat patty made with peas, rice, and potatoes. Was lacking in flavor. Its presentation conjured up the words floppy, soggy, and gloopy. It concluded they would only eat under dire circumstances, somebody said. And I think the name of the McPlant was not a smart name. I think it's one thing to know that it's not meat, but when you say plant in the actual name of the product, not sure what it does to appetite appeal. Speaking of appetite appeal, brand up for Applebee's and IHOP. Richer people are eating more at Applebee's and IHOP. Sales of both those chains up 6 and 8%, and it's up among households earning over $75,000 a year. A lot of people think that in the tough economy with inflation and whatnot, that a lot of people are, I don't want to say trading down because that's disparaging to these chains, but eating less expensive than they had been. And IHOP and Applebee's are less expensive alternatives with good food. So two good chains. We like two good chains. We like good things happening to them. But here's the big news of the week. And this was news to me. And I'm glad I didn't know this until I got read about this, because it would have been very upsetting for a lot of years. General Mills is bringing back, this is the news, I never knew they were gone, Count Chocula, Frankenberry, Boo Berry, and Fruit Brute cereals. Those cereals had been discontinued, and I don't understand why that ever happened. I would have led a nationwide revolt. I had no idea you could not buy Count Chocula or Frankenberry. I mean, those were staples of me. They were first introduced in 1971. I'm a big cereal guy. I used to be a big Frankenberry guy, more of a Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries guy, but still a Frankenberry guy. And that's just great news. And anytime you're not feeling good about things, understand that Frankenberry and Count Chocula and Boo Berry are back. And those are brands of the week. And that is a great transition to our hilarious and thoughtful interview with the great Howie Mandel. Here it is. I am thrilled to today's guest. He is a showbiz legend. I guess that's what we could. I mean, when I'm doing my research and all the shit that this guy has done, and I mean shit in the positive sense of the word.
Positive shit.
He's the legendary Howie Mandel. He's got a hit podcast that he does with his daughter. We're going to talk about that. Howie Mandel Does Stuff. New game show on that just finished. Did it just finish season 1?
Yeah, just finished season 1 on Netflix.
Bullshit, the game show. I love the title. He's setting a record 13th season as judge on America's Got Talent. He's historically done Deal or No Deal. He's been on Leno 41 times. He's done one of the stars of my favorite shows. You probably don't get this until you talk to people of a certain age, St. Elsewhere, with one of the most brilliant shows of all time, Dr. Wayne Fiskus. And I appreciate you joining today. Thanks for being here, Mr. Mandel.
Thanks for having me. I'm a fan of yours too.
Right back.
I don't know that I'm a legend. I find that people use that word and it just means you've gotten old. Nobody, regardless of how good the work is in your 20s, no matter how successful a show or whatever you've done is, nobody says the legend in your 20s.
That's a very good point. I found that
in my 60s, regardless of how much you've liked anything I've done, the fact that I'm still working, the word legend doesn't mean as much anymore.
It's not just in your case, it's really the breadth of work and the breadth of like really impactful stuff that really kind of stuck in our culture. And I think that that's what does it. And we're the same. How do you feel about your work now versus as a young stand-up or, some of the earlier stuff you did? I mean, do you get more of a kick out of it? Do you have the same energy? Are you as motivated, less motivated? I mean, give me Howie Mandel, working man now versus working man in his 20s.
My motivation has changed, and my perception of what success is and what I want to do and what is fun has really changed. I'm not driven by money. I'm not driven by notoriety. I'm not, and I kind of started that way and then morphed into everybody, chasing it and at any cost. And then at this age have relaxed and I'm enjoying it now more than ever. I found comedy in 1977 based on a dare. I went to the comedy club in Toronto called Yuck Yuck.
Yuck, not TikTok.
TikToks. You can call it TikToks. Time is flying by.
Man, I gotta tell you, brother.
But I went there and I got dared to go on stage. I've never aspired. I didn't, even think of show business as a possibility. I wasn't in school plays. I didn't, and from a middle class Toronto family, I don't know anybody in show business. I don't know anybody in show business. And I never thought about it. But when I hit the stage and on this dare, and to me, that was going to be the end of it, because somebody dared me to get up on stage and the joke was going to be that I showed up and there's no reason for me to show up and be on stage as a comedian. Mm-hmm. And that was going to be one and done and out. And, naturally, when I got on stage, the fear kicked in and I realized that maybe there was strangers there. I was going to be humiliated in front of all these strangers. And I had to come up with something. And I remember thinking, I can't think, my mind's blank. And I started going, okay. And if you look on YouTube, at everything that I did in the early 80s and the late 70s. That was my act. My act was just fear. So this fear started taking over and it was and I went, okay, all right. And whatever came to mind. My hands were in my pocket and, we'll probably talk about it in a couple of minutes, but I've been very open about my OCD. Sure. And in my pocket, I always had rubber gloves because when I was out in public, I didn't want to touch anything in a public restroom. And I hit the rubber glove and I just pulled it over my head and blew it up. And that became, the audience roared and laughed. And I ran off the stage and Mark Breslin, who was the owner of the club, said, "You got to come back tomorrow." And I said, "For what?" He said the same thing. And it was the first time I found everything that I was ostracized as I later on in life was diagnosed with OCD and ADHD, but I didn't have a lot of friends. And this was the first time that people who I didn't know seemed to enjoy my company and enjoyed having me around. And I've said ad nauseum throughout my career, everything I was expelled for, hit for, got in trouble for is what I started getting paid for. Yeah. So I loved doing it. And I loved showing up at Yuck Yucks every single night. And I didn't care about doing anything else but doing stand-up. And just the opportunity to do stand-up for me is my definition of success. To find something in life that you can't wait to do. I'm excited about getting up in the morning and going, I'm going to go to the club tonight. Or I have a funny idea and I can't wait to share that. Yeah. Or I can't. And for me, I realize now that was success. But what happened is, I started going to the clubs And then I started, I went and took a trip out to LA, and my buddy Mike Binder got me on at the
he's a brilliant guy.
Comedy Store.
He's a brilliant guy. I don't think he's a brilliant guy. He hasn't gotten the kind of the notoriety or credit he deserves with the body of work that he's done.
He has, you know what? He's brilliant, and he's made movies that have Academy Award nominations and written and directed them. He's kind of a behind the scenes guy. He's just coming forth again as a stand-up comic, but he's brilliant.
Yeah.
But anyway, I started with a lot of these young guys, like Jay Leno at the same time was, a guy that I met. He picked me up at the airport when I came to LA. He wasn't the Jay Leno that you know now. Yeah. I mean, he is, but what was interesting is you get caught in this hamster wheel of, I got to get on Carson and I got to do that. And that became a litmus test in my own mind and in the world's mind of what success was. I realize now that I found success that April 19th, 1977.
Doing something you love.
When I found something I want, when I got up on stage.
Yeah.
But, and I promise you that I would be content in life if I was at that time, if things hadn't happened around me, if I was, in sales as I was, and then twice a week I could show up and do that because I was really looking forward to doing that. But then I got into that competitive spirit, that youth and whatever world we're in, a business that kind of gets you chasing things, and you chase things that other people have or other people tell you about. Like when I got dared to get on stage, I didn't understand what the Carson show really was. I mean, I knew it and I watched it, but what I found is as I was doing comedy and I started making a living in comedy,
that was the Holy Grail.
Merv Griffin and Mike
Douglas.
That
was the spot, though. I mean, that was the launching pad.
But I was driven by the fact that somebody would come up to me in the street who didn't know me and say, "What do you do?" And I'd say, "I'm a comedian." And they go, "Well, have you been on the Johnny Carson show?" That was the world's litmus test.
That was it, yeah.
If you said you were on the Johnny Carson show, then they believed that you might have been a professional comedian.
Right.
So and that kind of, you absorb that like a sponge and you go, I got to do that. That's the one thing I got to do. So to answer your question, I chased all those things. I did the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson 22 times.
How many times did you get called? Did you get called over the desk a lot?
I started at the desk because I couldn't get on. The truth is that's what I was chasing. And I kept auditioning for it and trying. And there was a guy by the name of Jim McCauley, who was the casting director for all the comedians. And he said I was not right for the show. I couldn't do the show. And at that time, Joan Rivers was guest hosting for filling in for Johnny sometimes, and even getting bigger ratings than Johnny was. This is before she got offered the show at Fox and her own show. And she would come, she lived in New York, but she would come out to LA to fill in for Johnny, and she would work out her monologues on the stage at the Comedy Store. So knowing that she was showing up at the Comedy Store, I called Missy Shore, who was the owner of the Comedy Store, Pauly Shore's mom. And I said, can I get on right before Joan? Maybe Joan will see me. And I figured out, I got on right before Joan. That's a little bit of a story in itself that, that day Joan was going to see me. This was going to be my big break because maybe she would see me and like me and bring me onto the Tonight Show, which I had been aiming for. And I woke up with like 103 fever that morning. I was like just so sick. And anybody who's had a fever, and I think a lot of us have in the last 2 years, every bone was aching. And, I just, and finally at 8:00 at night, I was still sick. And I go, this is my opportunity. And I barely was able to get into the car, and I drove through the canyon and I got to the club, and Joan Rivers walks into the club, and I'm going on right before her. And I'm sweating and I'm weak and I can't think. And somebody goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, Howie Mandel." And I go on and the adrenaline kicks in and I have this amazing set.
Right.
And I say goodnight. And as I'm walking off the stage, Joan is walking onto the stage. She passes me. She goes, "You're very funny, young man." And then she does her set. She hits the stage. The audience roars. The superstars on stage. I go to the back and I'm waiting for her. And when she gets off stage, she starts talking to Mitzi. Then a bunch of other comics are around her. So I go just outside the original room. And now the adrenaline is fading and I feel the fever. And now I can't even stand. I don't know that I could drive. I feel dizzy and I'm up against the wall and I sit on the floor. And then I'm on the steps that lead down to Sunset Boulevard. and I think I'm actually going to pass out. And I waited like for an hour, but I wasn't going to go because and then I see Joan coming down the stairs, and she sees me on the stairs. I'm lying on the stairs. She looks at me. She goes, "You were very funny. Have you ever been on the Tonight Show?" And I go, "This week's my birthday." And she goes, "Call this guy." And she gave me the number of her manager. It's Billy Samuth. He's in the documentary. He's kind of a real interesting guy. He's no longer with us, but he was a brilliant, he managed Cher and her and a bunch of other people. And I call him the next morning and he goes, "She's doing it this week. We have nobody for Thursday. Can you be on Thursday?" And I went and did the Tonight Show with her from the couch on that Thursday. I was already on St. Elsewhere. I started St. Elsewhere in 1982. But I couldn't get on as a comic on the Tonight Show.
So you went on as Dr. Wayne Fiskus from St. Elsewhere.
Right, but I did my act
from the couch.
From the couch.
Yeah.
And the next morning, I get a call from Jim McCauley saying that Johnny saw me and he thinks I'm hysterical. Can I come on next week and be on with Johnny? And I ended up doing 22 episodes of the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. But again, this is a long-winded answer to your first question. These were all things I was chasing and all things that I was doing. I got offered movies in the 80s and I did movies during the breaks. And then I realized I didn't want to be away someplace on location. Most movies, I'm out here in LA.
Yeah.
The movies that I were doing were never in LA.
Right,
they were always in Wilmington, North Carolina for 3 months. My wife was having babies. I was missing that. I said, I'll do stand-up. I'll do St. Elsewhere. I don't want to leave town anymore. And, so I was just chasing. And now I don't chase anymore.
Yeah.
I do things that I just want to do.
Yeah.
I will not make a decision for money. That's why I'm on your podcast.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm not doing this for the money.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm doing this because I find you're interesting. I love talking to you. I love listening to you. Everything that I do, I just do because I want to do. And that's kind of free.
It's funny. It's interesting. That's why I'm doing the podcast. Not for the money also. I just, said this is really fun to just really sit down and talk 45 minutes to interesting people, such a wide range of people. I mean, last week was Eric Holder, the former Attorney General, and then Malcolm Gladwell was yesterday, you're next week. It's just such an interesting range, Katie Couric. It's just, that's what I love, that I get to sit down and I can go from a Hunter Biden to a Michael J. Fox, that I can go from, some of the great, the author Michael Lewis to Michael Rappaport, and it's just fun to be able to sit and just talk.
I think the thing that we have in common is, and when you talk about age and the years that you've been in a business, I think my fuel now and my currency now is curiosity.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people kind of lose that need to, like, you enjoy talking to these people and not the same thing, the same person every day.
Really different range of stuff. Yeah.
But I think a lot of people our age kind of lose that. And that's why, even in marketing, they always say like 18 to 49, in television. And that's because if you kind of look, those are the people that are buying the magazines. Those are the people that are buying the products. Those who are buying the tickets to concerts. That's who's doing it. And a lot of people our age, you look, they just stop.
Yeah.
I'm really not interested. And then they start talking about, well, that's not music. When we had music, that's not the way you dress, the way we dress. That's not what it is. I get it.
And you talk to any, it was interesting. I was listening to an interview recently with Mel Brooks, Carl Reiner before he died, Dick Van Dyke, and Norman Lear. And these were all guys in their mid-90s, late 90s. And Carl has passed, of course. And they all kind of said the same thing. They stayed curious. And they wanted to explore. And what's interesting, what's fortunate about the world they're in and the world that you and I are in, is that you can't do that in certain businesses. You're 65 and it's hard to kind of keep exploring your work. You can explore other things, but I've done so many different versions of myself. I ran my ad agency. I had the CNBC show. I had my own comedy show. I'm on MSNBC talking politics. I'm talking to you. So there's a sphere I can kind of work off of, but a lot of careers don't allow you the luxury of staying curious. You and I also have financial security. So there's we're in that really fortunate spot, but there are a lot of people our age who are not.
I don't know that I totally agree with you. I think that is our cultural mindset, and I don't care if you work at a bank. I don't care what you do. If you work on an assembly line,
right?
You can all, if you are really curious and you have a.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I stand corrected. I hear you. I got you. I got you.
No. But I'm just saying, you could sit at home. The negativity that people are talking about, like COVID has forced, it forced people away from their jobs, away from home. And I believe like the last revolution was the Industrial Revolution. Right? When everything, when we turned from, bartering land and railroads to like building and assembly lines. And that's how Detroit started up. And I think COVID has forced the digital revolution to kind of, so there are people who, and that's why it's hard to get employees now. I mean, there are other maybe socio-political reasons that people aren't coming back to work. But I also think that they've found joy. They found they heard the clock ticking in their life a lot louder during COVID. It kind of made their mortality ring true, and they found ways of making money online. Like I'm fascinated how many people are just doing things online and finding ways. I did this. I worked with this company during COVID called Talk Shop. And there was this mother, it's called Hungry Monkey Bakeries in Chicago. And there was this young lady that opened up this bakery with her daughter. And they had this little storefront in Chicago. And then within weeks, it had closed down and it was nuts. And they had me do, to companies, little companies that needed help. Talk Shop is this live, you can be like a home shopping network. And I lent my name and myself to sell their muffins and things.
Yeah.
And I started saying, I was on there and I said, hey, listen, the front care workers, our people in the hospitals who are working day and night, why don't you buy a little basket of muffins and then we could, UPS it over to the hospital or for the first responders and things like that. And people started getting on board. Well, what happened was her business exploded. She closed the storefront. She is now this Hungry Monkey Bakery is now this mail order bakery with the most scrumptious stuff. She would not have found that way. And I think that goes for a lot of people. If you're curious, if you're open, you can wallow in whatever staid world you are in. Or if you have the need, the necessity, or the curiosity, you can, if you're working all day on an assembly line, you can go take your iPad at night and just scroll and scroll and scroll through social media and get ideas and find things you want to do.
The thing you said about 15 minutes ago is kind of the essence of you, that the very thing that brought you down or challenged you, your OCD, your ADHD, your anxiety, which had kind of plagued you your early life, became the reason, not the reason for your success, but the underbelly of it, if you will, that turned into just kind of exploring your passion. And you've been so brave in talking about your challenges. It's funny, I've had bouts with depression. I don't really talk about it a lot. I haven't been comfortable talking about it. And talk to me about, first of all, the average person, they hear terms like ADHD and OCD. I don't really think they fucking know what it means. Talk to me about a day in your life with some of the challenges that you live with, because I don't think people hear words, they hear anxiety. And if they don't suffer from it or they hear depression, they don't get it. So talk to me about, yes, you're doing all these things in your life, but at the same time, you're managing stuff that is really life-altering.
Well, I think humanity is life-altering. I think there isn't anybody alive that doesn't have a moment in their life where they want to either through a friend, through medicine, through medication, need a coping skill to get through whatever it is they're getting through. Yeah. And they can feel anxious and they can feel depressed, but really clinical depression and clinical and OCD, which is now used, I have a little OCD, people say, but if you really have obsessive compulsive disorder, it's debilitating. And, people have seen the Howard, they know about Howard Hughes, and they saw the movie, and he ended his life. There's a very productive, smart, entrepreneurial spirit who ended his end of his life. He was lying naked in the fetal position in his room, peeing into bottles. I can't tell you how close I am to that many times throughout my life. And OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder, where you have a thought, an intrusive thought. And whether that intrusive thought is, ooh, I got something on my hand, or something that doesn't even make sense. I might think, did I just run over somebody? Or it's bad luck for me to walk in the room without spinning, counterclockwise 7 times. So I have this ritual. These kind of weird thoughts and different thoughts go into everybody. At some point in your life, they go into everybody's mind.
Right.
The issue with somebody that has OCD
it just
is
revs over and over and over and over and over.
Over and over and over. And I'll give you an example of my own. I could probably shake somebody's hand. The issue I have is I just don't want to be triggered.
Yeah.
And if you shook somebody's hand and it was sweaty and icky, or that you saw them right before they extended their hand, they had sneezed, you would think, oh, I've got that. I don't want that either.
Yeah.
So there's no big deal. But I would go into the bathroom and I'd wash my hands. And then I'd go to leave. And in my mind, I'd go, you know what? I probably didn't do that long enough. There's probably still bacteria on my hand. So I'd go back in and I'd turn the water on again. And then I'd wash my hands and scrub and sing happy birthday 4 times and then leave the bathroom. But as I left the bathroom, I'd go, you know what? I should have had the water on hotter because I probably didn't kill all the bacteria. Yeah. And I'd go back in the bathroom and I would turn it on hotter. Now I'd scald my hand and I'd rub my hand. And then I'd walk out again and I go, you know what? I probably didn't even wash. I probably wiped it to the back of my hand. And now I don't have it. And I could spend 2 hours. My life would be stopped.
Well, you talked about it as a kid. You talked about it as a kid, spending hours in the shower. I mean, you just
hours. And when your intellect fights, like I know that I've washed my hands. Mm-hmm. I know that even if I didn't wash my hands, I probably wouldn't get sick. The compulsion that I can't stop and I can't move my life forward.
Yeah.
And I just can't impossibly stop washing my hands or stop checking the door. I will go back 100 times and spend 2 hours until the doorknob breaks, until I punch the door and break the knuckles on my hand, just so that I'll feel the pain so I won't go back anymore.
Yeah.
I can't. And that fighting, I'm aware that I can't, which makes it even more frustrating, more debilitating, it's a form of insanity. It's really, really hard to get through. And it's not the same as the person who comes up to me and says, I'm going to clean that.
Yeah.
And it really bothers me.
Everything has to be really organized and my hangers have to be. Yeah,
so I have a little bit of what you're having. You can't have a little bit of that, You can't, I got a little bit of your cancer.
Anything today, are you in LA right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's about noontime. Has there been any kind of ritual thing today that you did that you go, well, just even on a normal day, this is what's going on in my life?
Well, to be honest with you, yeah, every day is a normal day. But I'm really, as I speak to you, I'm incredibly medicated.
Okay.
Wonderfully medicated.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, but prescription medication.
Right.
I do talk to my therapist, and I'm surrounded, and I do have a lot of coping skills. So far today, I've been, flying nice. But I have issues all the time, and depression is not sadness. You can get sad, you can be upset. Sure. People lose people and relationships.
That's what people think who don't know about depression think, oh yeah, no, I've been down also. That's not what it's about,
But clinical depression it feels like you physically can't even move. You don't care. It's like this. Depression is the best word for it. You feel like depressed. You're like your moods, your body, your physicality is you can't even move. It's debilitating. These are things that can be debilitating. But beyond that, what I've learned since I came out about being open about mental health, there isn't anybody alive that, whether you have, a diagnosable issue like OCD or clinical depression or clinical anxiety, where you can't even, a lot of people are anxious and scary. There are times in your life where you could be given coping skills, and we all should be open to reaching out. Like, I would imagine, I don't know, I've been married for 42 years. I would imagine that it would be debilitating if my marriage fell apart.
Yes.
But we're expected when somebody goes through a divorce or whatever, or a breakup, to show up at work every day and be normal and be as productive as possible. I don't know how the psyche copes with that. And it's, if you have a little bit of a toothache, you can say to a fellow office worker, you know what, I'm going to go have a toothache, and they'll hand you 10 cards for their dentist.
Yeah.
Or if your back is out, they'll give you your chiropractor. But if you said, you know what, my girlfriend broke up with me, and I'll be honest with you, I can't even concentrate. I can't work, and I feel so down and everything. Nobody's going to go take an hour, go to a therapist.
Yeah.
Or go to, and that therapy for you just may be working out. It may be a breathing exercise.
Yeah.
It may be distraction. I don't know what the coping skill is, but we all need help. Becoming a parent was so overwhelming. Just being in charge of another human being was so scary and so overwhelming. And there's nobody in place. We don't make our mental health part of our curriculum like we do our dental health. Even when nothing's bothering you, it's always, look, Mom, no cavity.
Yeah.
We're supposed to go get x-rays, but nobody checks our head.
No. And that's that. And for people that really suffer, it is in certain ways more debilitating than physical suffering. It really, really is.
And a connection too.
Yes,
if you if you get diagnosed with something, that's debilitating, like a cancer, people who are able to control their psyche and stay positive will heal faster.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the mental, mind over matter, your mental capacity affects your body and could make you legitimately physically ill.
I was going to I was going to hypothesize, but I know it's not true, having read up a bunch of incidents on AGT, that when you're working, you're kind of free from any of these issues and you go into another place. But there've been incidences in your work where it got got interrupted by these issues.
Well, I got upset even at AGT. They at one point they had a hypnotist on, and they always ask, for the judges or Terry, the host, to be part of the act, and I want you to do well. Yeah. So I've never turned down, though it's not the most exciting thing for me to do, is to be on stage with you, because I feel that the weight on my shoulders of, like, if I screw up a little bit, then you're not going to be as good. And I kind of thought with this hypnotist would kind of be funny. Like, maybe he'd make me, I do believe in hypnosis and I have been hypnotized and I am susceptible to it. So I thought, like, he'd probably make me act like a chicken or do something or a crazy dance. He hypnotized me, and then he had me go down and shake everybody's hand. And cool. I did it. But when I snapped out of it, I was beside myself. I had to call my therapist, and it triggered me really hard. And it's not just a game. So sometimes
I'm surprised the producers allowed that, to be honest with you.
So was I. And I got really upset. And it was a point of contention. And I said, you gotta, my mental health is not even though
it's not a game.
This is kind of weird, being a comedian, sometimes, and I make a lot of light of it. For me, laughter and humor is a great panacea. Mm-hmm. And humor always comes out of a dark place. Always. Yeah. It really does. I mean, and that's why most people don't have a sense of humor. And, they kind of know that they hear the rhythm of a joke. But even if you're a baby, if you're a kid and you're laughing at a clown falling down at the circus, you're laughing at the misfortune of somebody else. It's always, if two people walk into a bar, that's the joke. Unless something awkward or horrible happens to one of them, then it's not a joke. Yeah. So laughter is, and that's why when you see the two masks of tragedy and comedy, they're very close. There's really no one kind of fuels the other.
It was a great Woody Allen movie where comedy is tragedy plus time. Those are just a great.
It is, except now that the time we live in a society right now where there's really no time for that.
Do you feel it's interesting? I don't have to talk politics to probably know your politics. Do you feel, where do you draw the line as an entertainer? Because you're part of what you do is escapism and make people, yet you have a public platform and you see the world around that. You and I could talk for the next 6 hours about what's going on right now with Roe v. Wade, with guns, with January 6th and everything like that. As an artist, where do you put that? But you just say, this is just not what I do and this is it. How do you negotiate that?
It isn't what I do. And I don't really talk politics. And I'll tell you what, because I feel that my issue in life, my own personal issues is, as you alluded to earlier, the way I am able to deal with them, my biggest tool is distraction. And I feel that, in the moment of performing or doing a job or being on a podcast or what, I'm kind of right now in the moment.
Yeah.
And being in this moment right now distracts me from a quiet time when I can think of what's on my hand, or what's going on in the world, and make myself incredibly depressed. So to that end, besides distracting myself, I feel that I have a place on this planet right now to distract anybody who is watching me and listening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that, for the most part, if I'm not making you smile, then I could hopefully give you a little bit of comfort in knowing maybe you're not alone in whatever it is you're suffering with, or give you an idea to make your life a little bit better. I want people to feel better after the moment they spent with me. And I feel that at this time in my life, and it's the first time in my history, in my life, that I feel such divisiveness. And I think that we need to come together. And no matter what your politics are, no matter what your race is, no matter what your gender is, each and every one of us has so much more in common than we do.
Absolutely. I say that all the time.
So if I could be a beacon, I don't know that stating my politics, it's not my platform, stating my politics, stating what I think politically, stating what I think is in the news, anybody who agrees with me is just going to make me a voice in their echo chamber.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able, it's not my place to convince anybody.
The problem is that doesn't seem to be anybody's place to convince. They just, everybody is so dug in right now that it's pretty hard to move.
No, but I had on my podcast last week, I had Bill Maher.
Okay.
Bill Maher, and we're really good friends. Bill Maher's place and what he's given himself to do is he shares his view. And he can argue his view, and he loves to argue his view. And he would love to convince anybody listening in a very entertaining, informative way that what he is thinking is the way.
What's so brilliant about Maher and why he is effective at moving people is that he's one of the few people that is not purely tribal at this point. Obviously he's a liberal guy, he's a progressive guy, but he's able to call bullshit on all the stuff that the left wing is doing is ridiculous. And unfortunately, not a lot of people in the public domain are able to do that at this point. Okay, I have to wear an entire wardrobe of stuff, and this is what I stand for, versus saying, no, defund the police is really stupid, even though I'm a progressive liberal person. You know what I mean? And he's been able to really, I think, chart out a really interesting, provocative, important space that way.
Yeah, but it's also, the point is that we're also living in a society. You come from advertising.
Yeah.
We live in a society where I think that we're just inundated with advertising, in the sense that there was advertising and then there's facts, and I don't think, and that line is kind of blurred in the sense, the days of Walter Cronkite, where you could watch the news, you could take these facts. And I don't think whether you're on the left or the right, I don't know that I get facts. I know I always get a narrative.
Yeah.
And some narratives seem better to me than others, but I don't want it. I want to be able to make my decision on my own without. I don't like watching TV where I know, especially if I'm watching news or politics, where I know where that person is leaning.
Yeah.
I don't want to know, no matter what side, no matter,
It's harder and harder to find that, because unfortunately, it doesn't rate. CNN's doing an interesting experiment now. They're like, we're going right down the middle. Straight news, MSNBC here, here's Fox is here. And already their viewership is off. And it's so unfortunate. But the very thing that you're talking about that I actually crave also, we've trained viewers to take it in the way the very thing you're saying you don't want, people do want. I want to know, I want to hear. It was amazing. I just a stat the other day. 70% of Fox viewers, we're not going to get political, I'm just going to say this, think that, forget about the big lie. They think that January 6th, that all those people there were lefties, were Antifa, were crazy. Like 70% of their audience literally have been watching that footage and think these people are in costumes. It was all set up to get Trump. So it's like people who think that way, they want that. That's what they want. That's what they're being fed. And all right, we're not gonna get into politics because that's not what
No, but it's not even politics. It's more your business. It's about advertising. What's amazing is that what is reality? All our realities are really different now.
That's the problem.
What was it? There was just
it's this thing right here. It's this thing right here. I mean, we're able to create whatever we want.
An algorithm and that's why anybody who thinks different than me, I have no animosity toward. I kind of understand it. And we're in the world. And do I know whether I'm getting the truth? I think I am, but I don't know. I don't know as much as the other person doesn't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And there isn't one, we are built, democracy is built on opposing views. It's supposed to be opposing views. It's supposed to be. And we're both sides are fighting each other and not respecting an opinion and coming together in a respectful way and meeting in the middle. There's that doesn't happen anymore. And that's the problem.
That's pretty sad.
We've lost all respect. We are incredibly tribal. We are incredibly, and I hope that, the joy that I get out of anything I do, whether you're listening to me, whether you're laughing at me, whether you agree with, at the moment when an audience laughs, I know that there are right-wing and left-wing people in that room.
Yeah.
And they all laughed at the same thing.
That's the joy. You talked about the podcast. You're talking to podcast people right now. So talk to me about the podcast, Howie Mandel Does Stuff.
It came out of just, again, passion. Because we're in our 60s, my daughter and my grandchildren stayed away from me for over a year or 2 years because that was the mandate at the time, that it was dangerous to be around older people. So to stay connected to my family, me and my daughter would spend hours on the phone each and every day and then record prank calls, call other friends of mine and get them on the call. We would do group things on Instagram and it was just a connection and having fun and laughing and sharing information. And one day my wife walked in the room and goes, "What is this? What's this show?" And I go, "It's not a show. I'm on with Jackie, with my daughter." And, we prank called Heidi Klum. And she goes, "Well, what's it for?" I go, "It's just for me." She goes, "Well, you should record it." So we just started doing it. It's now called a podcast, but it's me. It's me and my daughter, and we just do stuff. And that's what it is. And whether I'm talking to Bill Maher or whether I'm making a prank call, or whether I'm, learning about something somebody sits down and tells me about because we're both interested and don't understand. We didn't understand NFTs and Bitcoin. And we had somebody on talking to us about that and having fun with that. Whatever we're interested in is the hour a week, which drops Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts, of us with my friends, fellow comedians, and they don't have to be big names. When we were learning about NFTs, we had that woman on. It wasn't that interesting. I thought it was going to be, there was a woman that was selling her own farts in a jar and made over $30,000 in 1 week. And I thought that is,
I need to learn about this.
Well, I ended up being more interested in it than any of my audience was. But that doesn't matter. Me and my daughter had a good time talking. But we've talked to Jay Leno and Jay, it's been killing me for years to set the record. I've been really good. I told you, Jay kind of picked me up from the airport when I landed. And I don't know how well you know Jay Leno.
I've done a show a few times. Just what a nice fella. Has always been so, I've done different, like most people have different shows with different people. Never a more gracious host who really goes out of his way to just make you feel comfortable.
And you know what? That's a genuine, he's also a genuine, authentic person. Yeah. And it really bothered me personally, not personally, for my friend, the empathy that I felt when he went through that really rough time at the late night wars. So I said, he's got to come on my show and set the record straight just so I'll feel better.
Yeah.
And we did,
and
that just blew up for us. And, every comedian Joe Coy and every comedian, Bill Burr, they all come on. And we, I started with a lot of these people.
Bill Burr is brilliant. Bill Burr is just brilliant, boy. He's just...
Oh, man. He's exploding and nobody deserves it more.
Man.
And I've known him for years.
Right.
And I knew his wife when his wife's father used to be my manager.
Oh, wow.
So she used to come and swim
That's
and play with
crazy.
my daughter in the backyard when she was 5 years old.
That's crazy.
So just to see these people come to fruition and experience this kind of success and have fun. So to me, you call it a podcast. I think we're just recording a real fun time that even if nobody saw it and even if we didn't upload it, I swear to you, I would be doing Howie Mandel Does Stuff.
I feel the same way.
Week.
I feel the same way about On Brand.
Watch it on YouTube or wherever you listen to your audio.
You're trained like I have to promote every time I'm on. I'm like, and you can get it anywhere you get podcasts. And Bullshit the Game Show
was another great, it happened. I'm hoping there'll be a season 2.
Well, it was a hit. I mean, there's got to be a season 2. I mean, it did great. It did great.
But it gave away a lot of money. And at Netflix now, giving away a lot of money is not doesn't make it real
oxymoron, right?
Yes.
That's very funny.
They have their own issues.
Yes, they're giving away money. They're giving away money as it is. Yeah.
Yes. So we gave away a lot of money. We found the show where, they asked me to do the show. I don't want to do a trivia show. I'm not good at trivia myself. Yeah. I'm not really that interested in it. I don't want to even to host it. I don't want to read questions and do that. But this show kind of blew me away because you can be a moron and walk away with millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And it was, you asked the question, I asked the question, a multiple choice question. They picked an answer. They only knew whether in the moment they knew whether they got the answer right or wrong. It doesn't really matter. They only have to convince one person that they know what the answer is. Yeah. And if they buy their bullshit, they get the money. And these are contenders for that spot to win the million. And the way they get into the spot is by being as accurate as possible, but being able to call bullshit or whether they honestly knew. So you wouldn't call they were held to the standard of having to call bullshit when they really thought it was bullshit, or if they believed it and they wrote that they believed it and it was real, they have to be as accurate as possible.
I'm going to ask the no pun intended $1 million question. Obviously, your business partners and yourself have thought about this. If the thing is entertaining as it is, do you need that big a prize money? I mean, the business model may work just as well instead of giving away $1 million, giving away $500,000 or whatever the math is.
I don't know. I don't know if it'd be a hard pitch to Netflix to go, we're back with season 2. Remember last year we had $1 million winner. Right. This year you have a shot at $80. $80. All you got to do is bullshit.
And one of my worst ideas. Howie Mandel.
It's an idea. There's no bad ideas.
No bad. And speaking on AGT, there are no bad ideas. Is it hard when you have some of the acts that are on there that are obviously not very good? It's part of the show. I mean, it's part of the entertainment factor. It was interesting. I was, little apples and oranges, I was invited to be one of the first sharks on Shark Tank, and I turned it down because I didn't see myself as a shark. I didn't want to be that guy shitting on people, putting people down and whatnot. I said, I'm an empowering guy. And, it's a monster success. I probably should have done it. But how do you deal with those challenges when you have the acts on and they're vulnerable and you got to kind of give them the hook? What's the Howie Mandel kind of strategy for that?
That's the hardest and my most hateful part of that job.
Yeah.
But here's, after having been there for 13 years, if you reviewed tapes, I wasn't as real in the beginning as I am now. And I feel that you don't have to be mean as much as you have to be, and the audience senses it.
Direct and honest.
And believes in you as much as you're authentic and real.
Yeah.
And, if I hear or see something that is obviously not good, and you don't have to be an expert to know that it's not good, it's really hard for me to go, hey, you're a wonderful guy. You're fantastic. And I loved it. But it's not hard to go, listen, I don't get it. I think that missed the mark, but that's just me. And it's kind of like what you said. It's apples and oranges. It's subjective.
Yeah.
So just because I don't like it. So it's about finding a way to be constructive and positive. Mm-hmm. And I often tell the story about one of the biggest highlights of my career was in the early 80s when I finally really hit. I sold out Radio City Music Hall, 2 shows in one night in an hour. So that's 14,000 people.
That's a big deal.
And and I'm looking out onto 7th Avenue in between the shows from my dressing room upstairs with my wife. And I see 7,000 people teeming into whatever street they come out onto. and 7,000 people coming in for the next show, 14,000 people in the street. There's cops and there's stanchions and traffic is blocked. And my wife goes, this is all for you. Like, what are you thinking? And I said, to be totally honest with you, this city is one of the biggest cities in the world. I think that I'm thinking that 9,984,86,000 people don't give a shit I'm here. And really, that is the adage, whether I like you or not, or whether I get it or not. And I tell them that. I said, I'm just going to be honest. I didn't get it. I didn't see it. It's not my kind of music, or it's really hard. But I think if my intention is not to be mean and to be positive,
you can do it.
I think and that goes all out the window when it's a kid. I don't know what to do. I fall into a pile of mush. I don't know what to do.
Hey, you've been so generous with your time, Howie. One of the good people that good things have happened to, and I'm congratulations for your continued success, your continued work. The game show that I'm going to guarantee is coming back for a second season is Bullshit the Game Show. Howie Mandel Does Stuff podcast, available anywhere you get podcasts, as we've talked about. 13th season of AGT, man who's still got it going on, father of 3, all around good fella. Howie Mandel, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Donny. All the best.
You stay healthy and well, okay?
I'll try.
Hope you enjoyed today's show and our interview with Howie Mandel and our Brands of the Week. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe anywhere you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anyplace else. And please watch our videos on YouTube. You can leave comments there or download the videos also. And we will see you next week on Brand. Have a great, safe week. Everybody, thanks for watching. If you like it, hit that subscribe button. And we love having you here watching On Brand. And just don't miss any future episodes. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.